It looked afraid, right? They looked afraid of losing the opportunity to win the game in that moment rather than taking it by the jugular and winning it.
Right. And that's sort of why I was trying to ask around, like, because Daniel Jones does have a history of turnovers that would make you nervous in a situation like that. Now, he played great last night, and he didn't turn the ball over, which is, and that's exactly what they want and need to see from him. But, yeah, you do. And it's such a strange situation because you're not expecting to get the ball back right there, and you do, and so you have to think it through. Like, well, all right, what do we have? We're down by 2. We need to get at least 3 points here. Can't turn it over. Don't want to do what the Raiders did, right, the other night, close to the end zone when they had a chance to win. So I can kind of get it, but yeah, I can understand why people are upset.
Listen, I mean, Herman said it. You play to win the game, and last night they played not to lose it. And that, I think, if I'm a fan of the Giants this morning, bothers me as much as anything else. Let's make this Straight Talk brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Dan Graziano, you made an outstanding analogy for those who would say last night's game was ugly, which it was, and it was sloppy, which, in fairness, the Thursday night games frequently are, and that it was filled with mistakes and at times a tad unsightly. You made a great analogy this morning.
Well, I'm sitting there watching, and I'm thinking I enjoy NFC East football as goofy as it is. I felt like the NFC East is the New Jersey of the NFL. I'm from New Jersey, love New Jersey, proud of it. I don't. When other people make fun of it, I don't get upset. I just say, well, they don't know. They don't get it. Right? And I feel like if I'm a fan of the NFC East, I feel kind of the same way. Look, there was a ton of good stuff. And I mean, Daniel Jones did have a good game. Terry McLaurin, a legitimate superstar wide receiver that the Washington football team can count on. I mean, it was compelling the entire way through. It was entertaining, which I think is what we really do want from our sports. I don't necessarily put on a game to watch it played perfectly. Right? I want it to be good and entertaining. And you could not take your eyes off that game, even those of you who wanted to.
Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. I agree with you. And yet, anyone who listens to this show or watches the TV show in the morning knows I went into this season very high on the Washington football team. And I will admit, last night sort of shook me to my core on that because the question going in is, well, how will they do without Ryan Fitzpatrick? Well, they did just fine. I mean, Taylor Heineke, he was as far from being the problem as you could possibly be. I anticipated they would have a dominating defense. Why don't they?
Yeah, there have been enough personnel changes, I think, in like the linebacker and some differences in the secondary that have affected it. The defensive front's as good as anybody's in the league, but you know, there's a year's worth.
But they didn't dominate a terrible offensive line last night.
That offensive line that at the tackle positions has played 2 good games.
A little better,
I mean, it may be that the Giants' offensive line concerns are a little overstated. Andrew Thomas, much maligned, and with a lot of good reason, first half of last year, was the 4th pick in the draft. He may be a good player. Right? So if that's the case, and he held up fine last night. So, yeah, I think Washington, I mean, look, the Giants are supposed to have a good defense too, and they didn't look it last night either. It's early in the season. I think Washington got away with one last night, and they can regroup. Jack Del Rio can get his crew together. They have extra time before the next game, figure out what's going wrong. But, yeah, I personally never understood the excitement over Washington, like above the other teams in the division. I didn't see them as that much different. But to the extent that you could, it was that reason. Right? It was that defensive front, Chase Young and Montez Sweat and all these first-round picks. And, yeah, they got away with one last night where they really did not dominate the game. You would have expected them.
Greeny and Graziano presented by Progressive Insurance. You could save big when you bundle your auto, home, motorcycle, RV, or boat. Visit Progressive.com. So, again, we're going to hear from Nuno in a couple of minutes here, who is one of the real, true, great Giant fans that you will ever get. And he's also one of the most negative and pessimistic people you'll ever meet, so that should be an explosion today. But let me try and sort of paint the optimistic view for the Giants.
Yeah.
So many things last night looked better than I expected them to, particularly the quarterback. The division does not look like it's running away and hiding. Unless you're going to buy into what Jalen Hurts did to a terrible Falcons team last week, the Cowboys are probably staring 0-2 in the face because they go to the Chargers this week, who are a really good team. If I said to you right now, one of the 2 teams we watched last night is, by the middle of the season, going to look like a legit team, not just one that could win a bad division at 7-10, but going to look like a legit team, which one would you bet it would be?
I would probably take Washington of the 2. I mean, again, there's so much talent on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know that they lose a ton going from Ryan Fitzpatrick to Taylor Heineke. I know they like Heineke. I think it's possible he keeps the job if he keeps winning games.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's them. I think you'll see more development of Antonio Gibson in the run game. And again, McLaurin is a weapon. I mean, they can absolutely lean on. So, yeah, I think the Giants are a little bit farther away, probably a few more pieces away. But, yeah, I mean, that you're right about the quarterback. If you want to believe in Daniel Jones, you want to see a series of games like that.
So if they're pieces away, that doesn't sound like something they can fix in a season, which I would ask you the question, what is the patience level then? I had guys on Get Up this week telling me if they lose, Bart Scott telling me if they lose this game, Jason Garrett's job is going to be in jeopardy, and I think there are a lot of questions about the way he handled that drive last night, all the rest of that. Will there be fallout from this?
I mean, the Giants don't like to make changes like that during the season. They don't love to. I mean, a couple of years ago, you remember when Ben McAdoo was the coach, they benched Eli Manning for Geno Smith. Those guys got fired the next day. Very unusual in Giants history. They also don't like making major changes in those leadership positions every couple of years, as they've been doing lately. So they want to give it time. Look, of all those 0-2 starts, the previous 4, one thing has never been true and is now. There are 15 games left.
Yeah.
Like, there is more time to recover than there's ever been. So, yeah, it stings. It hurts. You felt like you should have been 1-1 going into this mini bye, and you're not. You're 0-2. But the Giants have, I mean, they have time, and the NFC East, as we've been discussing, is not the most challenging division to win.
It's the most improbable statistic in the world. It's 5 straight years they're 0-2. It's hard to believe that actually happened. All right.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.